Hey guys, what's up? It's once again, it's mp4podcast.com, and some guy who I subscribe to in the UK who's a filmmaker made a video about the Sanyo Xacti 2000, which is a good camera. I also own that camera, and I think he said it's a good camera to get if you're starting out and it's cheap. However, there is a better camera out there, even for filmmakers. I'm talking about, starting out on YouTube, doing some basic things. And I'm gonna say it's the Olympus E-PL1. This will record in 720p. It's not 1080p like the Sanyo. But one of the great things about these Micro Four Thirds is, you can get Panasonic lenses and you can get Olympus lenses. You can get adapters. You can put old manual lenses on this camera. You can get bokeh, shallow depth of field, get that movie look. Now, a couple things I do want to talk about. The Sanyo has 60 frames per second, and I really do like 60 frames per second. And this camera only has 30 frames per second, the Olympus E-PL1. However, with all the extra benefits such as be able to changing lenses and stuff like that, I would give up that feature. So if you're looking to buy your first camera, I'm going to recommend the Olympus E-PL1. In the United States, it's only $150 with the body only. I looked on Amazon UK. I think it has the Olympus kit lens. I think it's like $300 or something like that. So it's not too bad. Maybe I forget what the exchange rate. But overall, I do think this is a better investment. Also because, if you get these lenses, you can very easily go with the Panasonic model, which is really made for filmmaking, such as the Panasonic GH2, or even if you're, even more of a pro, the AF100 or the AF101. The 100 is the North American model, and the other one is a PAL. Basically, it's the same camera with the same features. But one of the things I do like about the Panasonic lenses is that they are silent. You cannot hear these lenses at all. So if you're recording video, completely silent. Now it only has a mono mic. I believe this one is mono. There is the E-PL2, which is $100 more, but the E-PL1 actually does have a better sensor. Now this ISO goes up to 3200. The EP2 goes up to 6400, but the sensor is a little bit of older technology, and the E-PL1 is a little newer. Now it seems weird because let me tell you about Olympus, and I just got into Olympus, so I might be a little bit off on this. What I'm saying is, but I believe the first pen was the EP1, and then Olympus probably brought out the EP2, which had some upgrades, and that camera is titanium, the EP2, probably the EP1 and the EP3. But the EP2 was an upgrade to the EP1, and then they wanted to bring out their first light one. So they brought out the E-PL1 with a new sensor. So I'm guessing the E-PL2 also has a new sensor, and so on. I don't know about the E-PL3s. But Panasonic lenses, if you want to get the kit lens, I'm going to recommend for video, I'll recommend the Panasonic one if you need to use autofocus. The Olympus one is fine if you do want to use manual focus. But you will hear, if you go into autofocus, you will hear that with the Olympus. Keep in mind, all those other lenses, from Olympus, Nikon, whatever, they're all made for taking photos, and they're not really made to be silent for video. So right now I got my memory card in the camcorder, but let me see if I can turn this on. Basically you get some filters, artwork. It says no memory card. It has a lot of features. I know this isn't a pro camera, but you can take a lot of great professional photographs with this camera. Let me just go to setup, and I'm going to put that back on 1 second. I was doing night photography. I'll leave some links in the description box of this video so you can check out some of my photography. And if you're doing night photography and you're you don't have a tripod, this camera is pretty good because the image stabilization is built into the body, and it's pretty good. I don't recommend walking around with the image stabilization. Like, it will get a little wobbly. This is more for handheld, and it does work really good. I mean, a lot of people will do, oh, I'm going to check the image stabilization and start walking. No, image stabilization is not for walking. That's when you put your camera usually on a rig, or you really have to know how to hold the camera, and there are a few techniques. But image stabilization, for the most part, is for just hand holding, unless you get like really amazing image stabilization, maybe on a Canon Pro lens, that costs like $1,000. So here we have the single, multiple 12-second timer, 2-second timer. So we got that. IS, what's this? All the focal length, vertical, horizontal, off. So I think I had it on auto. You can take 4x3 pictures, 16x9, 3x2, 6x6. That's, I guess, a little rectangle right there. I'll leave it on 4x3. Now, let me just say this. For $150, right, guys, you get a camera that takes raw photos. Now, some of you guys may not know what RAW is. RAW isn't a file format by Olympus or Panasonic, Nikon, Canon, Pentax, Leica, Hasselblad. It's not a file format. It's in a container that the manufacturer makes, but it's not a file format. JPEG, MP4s, like my name, whatever, MP3s, whatever. Those are file formats. RAW is not a file format. What RAW is all the digital information that goes through the lens. So when the image is going through the lens, RAW keeps all that information in that file, that RAW file. Now, what you're able to do is, like, you can recover photographs. If it's underexposed, overexposed, you have ability to really tweak your photograph with Lightroom. There's other video editors. You can use Photoshop, but Lightroom is more made for working with a bunch of photographs and so on. This is an amazing deal for $150 to have RAW. So let me see. Auto flash. We have red eye removal. I'm not sure if you can. I'll just say what it is. Fill in. We have flash off. Red eye slow 2, full, and then you can just set the power. By quarter or whatever. Just leave that on auto, and see what else we got here. Here you can do overexposed, underexposed. Here's your light meter. Now let me explain these light meters. Here is like a multiple light meter. It's like it's reading the whole entire image. And center weight. Center weight's just a circle, like right in the screen. Well, not in the screen. In the sensor that reads the light. So it won't read anything in the corners. Spot reads basically in the spot. Spot highlight and spot for shadows. I just leave it on the all-around light meter, the one that reads everything. Manual focus. You have continuous autofocus, single autofocus, single AF and manual, and AF tracking. AF tracking is maybe like I guess it'll track onto a color to see something moving. My Nikon's a little bit like that. face detection. Face detection is really cool because if you're doing street photography, and I found that a lot of people said that the autofocus wasn't that good on this camera. I'm not saying it's amazing, but I saw on Digital Rev that it wasn't that good. I actually had pretty good luck with the autofocus on this camera, and I guess it maybe it's because of the Panasonic lens. But face detection is really nice to have. If you're taking a picture of a person, it'll lock onto their face. They'll know to get that part of the image in focus. ISO goes up to 3200. I took an image at 1600, came out really good at night. I also like in Lightroom, you can like slide it over a little bit to do a little bit more noise reduction. So don't worry about it if you see a little bit of noise. I don't really worry about it too much. And then you have like the different vivid, eye enhance, muted. That's like portrait, monotone, custom, and I just leave it on natural. For the color, what else do we got? The white balance, you can set the white balance in here. Sunny, shadow, cloudy, inconsistent or whatever. Fluorescent, 1, 2, 3. White balance, flash, capture info. I think you take a picture of something white, like this table, a piece of paper, and then you tell the camera this is white. I haven't tried it, but that's how some of the stuff is. Kelvin, and here you can set the numbers. I just have it on white, and the white balance does work pretty good. So here we're going over here, and then we got menu, image stabilization, bracketing, IR mode is here. I mean, this camera just has a lot of great features. Let me just go like this. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this camera off for a second. Now, what I want to talk about right now is that this camera, a couple of options you do. As right here, you can put a professional flash. If you take this off right here, you can put a professional flash. You can put a viewfinder on here. You can put a mic accessory. I recommend getting that mic accessory from Amazon. It is cheaper than getting it from Olympus's website. So that's pretty much that. So anyway, let's change the lens. And on the Micro Four Thirds cameras, everything is a 2x crop factor. So if you guys remember old 35mm film, the sensor in the camera is half the size of 35mm film. So how are we going to get this old Minolta lens on this camera? Well, what we're going to do is use this adapter. So let's take this adapter out, right, and put it right over here. I got my lens caps. Always save these lens caps, okay? Trust me, guys, they're really good to keep dust out. All right, so just gonna twist this out. Take that, and just gonna put that right over here. And you can see that that's the sensor, that purple thing. You probably see it right now. That's the sensor. So what we're going to do is line up the red dot with this red dot. All right. Now we have a Minolta mount on a Micro Four Thirds camera. Let me just put this in here. All right. So this is a 28mm lens, and this goes right in here. Do I get this right? Oh, hold on, I gotta press this button, I believe. All right, hold on. There it goes. Yeah, I have to press this little button right over here. Now, this is a 28mm lens, so on Micro Four Thirds, it becomes a 56mm. So basically, the lens covers the sensor, but the sensor is smaller, so it sees in tight more. So basically, let me show you this snug thing. Let's just say this is, try try to push this a little bit over here. I dropped my lens. Crap. It's alright. Let me just say, okay, let's say this whole box is the film on the camera. Okay, this is 35mm camera. Now the picture of the iPad, that's the micro four thirds sensor. So it's going to see right here. So let's say you got, you know, 4 people. You know, you get 2 people over here and here, and 2 people in the center. Micro four third will only see the people in the center, but it will be larger. So it's not like you're, it's not like you're seeing less, but it's more. It becomes more of a telephoto lens than a wide angle lens. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. And there are some benefits to doing that. I mean, you can buy a cheap 135mm lens, and it's going to be like a 270mm 2.8, and to get that on a 300 from Nikon and Canon is very expensive. You know, so if you have a Nikon, Canon, Sony, Pentax crop sensor, the 135 is still a really good deal. Now here we have a manual focus. You know, we have a manual focus Minolta camera. Lens, and it works really good. I have aperture control right here. Now I can put this in P mode. It'll just basically fix the. If I put the ISO on auto, it'll find the right ISO. P mode will find the right shutter. You can put the camera on S mode, and that will find the right shutter for the right aperture. One little tip I do want to go over. When you're doing manual focus with these old lenses, if you're having a little bit, what's great about the light pen cameras, they have a punch and zoom. And as you can see, that's, you know, I'm a little bit too close to everything for you guys can see, but it zooms in, and then when you zoom in, it's very easy to use manual lenses. And then you just punch it again and it's back to normal. But I would probably say this is probably the best camera that you can get for YouTube right now. I don't know, you know, how long they're going to be available. They're great cameras. Also, 2 years ago, the Olympus E-PL1, a lot of people were saying it was the best JPEG engine. A lot of people don't like shooting JPEGs, but because, you know, if you use Canon, the Canons have too much red in it. So if you're wearing like a the regular color red shirt, it comes out too red. Nikon's kind of have a little bit of a green or a blue push. Panasonic have a green push. You know, depending on the manufacturer. But the Olympus in 2010 had the best JPEG engine. And also Fuji is said to have an amazing JPEG engine. I still like the Nikon JPEG engine. I don't think it's probably as good as the Olympus, but it's not bad at all. Canon cameras, they can kind of seem to be kind of good and bad in a way. They kind of do give you a little bit of a red tone when you're doing portraits, so people don't look white and pasty. Kind of warms up the picture a little bit, but sometimes it can be a little bit too warm. I mean, if you know how to use Lightroom, it's not really that big of a big deal. You can adjust for that, but you have to know each camera's good and bad points. Another thing I do want to show you, one more thing that's really great about this camera is the flash right here. Okay, it has a pop-up flash just like this, and you can tilt it. Now if you're in a house that has a white ceiling, you can bounce this off the ceiling, get some nice pictures that look a little bit more like natural light. Or you can put a business card over here, a piece of paper. A lot of people like to even wrap the business cards around an aluminum foil. Gives a little bit more of a sparkle look. But you know, just if you get the EP2, it's going to cost you like $100 for a flash. The thing about the EP2, it does have stereo sound. This one has mono, but you can get the little adapter, turn this into stereo. The adapter goes here. You can get a stereo mic, or you can get a little shotgun mic, or you can even get like an adapter or a little rig or something, and get like a Rode or something, and you know, put like a bracket around the camera. So it's a very versatile camera. Now I do want to talk about one other thing. That gentleman from the UK about the 60 frames per second. I really do like the 60 frames per second, but you can get slow motion out of these cameras. The only thing is you'll have to use a program like Twixtor in Adobe Premiere or Sony Vegas or something like that. I think Twixtor doesn't work unless you have 60 frames in Vegas, but more like Premiere. But what you do is you put the shutter up probably around 500th of a second, or you know, somewhere around that ballpark, and that's how you get slow motion. What you do is you take multiple pictures on the same frame. It's not as good as a camera that really does have all those 300 frames per second, but it's still pretty good. And a lot of people do use that with the 60 frames. They try to get maybe 500 frames. It doesn't look as good as a camera that does have 500 frames natively, but it's still pretty damn good. It's great. This is great for video because you can get that bokeh look, the shallow depth of field and so out of these cameras, and it's just really nice. I think this is a much better investment than the Sanyo. Don't get me wrong, I like the Sanyo, use it for all my YouTube videos, but you can grow with this format. So if you just put some money, this camera is available right now. The Sanyo is a little hard, I guess, to get, and a lot of times it's other vendors selling it, and it's probably overpriced because it's probably somebody trying to get a lot of money so they can buy something else. So once again, I'm sorry for the long video, but I really wanted to emphasize on this camera. I really do like it. I'm going to leave some links in the description box of this video if you're interested in buying the E-PL1. So once again, guys, this is MP4podcast.com. Signing out. You guys have a good one. Later, guys. Bye.